Welcome to Youngbloods Collective's Unnamed Happy Hour. Every third Thursday of the month, Dee and Bree host a virtual happy hour featuring different guests from a variety of creative backgrounds and varying interests. The goal of these virtual happy hours is to get to know our guests, learn about creative processes, and engage with unique insights and ideas in the BLM movement, ultimately building a network of creatively minded people committed to incorporating small and large acts of anti-racism and activism into their daily life.
Okay.
And it turns into a podcast that blows up.
Okay.
All right, we're starting this thing.
This episode is brought to you by the word Cheugy. Okay, what does Cheugy mean on TikTok? Cheugy means something that is off trend. It is mostly aimed at millennial styles and trends, and it's similar to calling someone basic. Things that make someone cheugy, according to Chug Life Instagram, include anything that says girl boss, Harry Potter merch, UGG slippers, going to Disney as an adult. Ugh. Like against if I want to go to Disney, I'm going to Disney.
Yeah.
Posing in front of a wall mural for an Instagram picture, EOS lip balms. You get the picture.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
They're coming for us.
Yeah, I'm cheugy.
I guess I think we're all pretty cheugy AF up in here.
Yes. Proud to be Cheugy.
Proud to be cheugy. That's the next t-shirt. Proud to be cheugy. Maybe that's what we call this. Maybe we spend this
Our
whole time
series?
trying to
Session.
see what the
Yeah.
next name of this enterprise is going to be.
We enjoy side parts and skinny jeans.
Yeah.
That are not cool anymore.
Zigzag parts?
I have a kind of a related story. Can I tell it?
Yeah, get it, girl.
So I rented a tiny little office space above 7th, or on 7th above Worley, but on the 3rd floor that no one knows exists up there.
The mystery
What?
floor.
Yeah.
What? Wait, so you moved out of the...
No. This
Okay.
was before
Oh, before. Okay.
where I am now, which I'm still there. I have not gotten kicked out yet. But I was in this little hallway which went into the tattoo shop that's there now.
Okay.
And I was working on my thesis, doing whatever it is I was doing, and one of the tattoo shop guys had some friends come through my side of the building, and they just looked in and said, "Oh, she's just so normal." And I was so offended.
What?
Right? That's what Cheugy is, right?
Like
just normal.
an
Like,
insult.
yeah, I was like,
Before
normal?
Cheugy, it was normal. She's just normal.
just so normal. I was like,
And who the fuck? And I know that they were some basic white boys.
Right.
Yep.
The
They were some
audacity.
cheugy ass white boys.
Getting a tribal tattoo.
Oh, Sarah, or like a tattoo cartoon.
Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, with like a dye flag or some shit, you know?
Anyway,
Tell
Some
me
YOLO
me
boys.
basic. Tell me
I was
normal.
really offended.
You should
I
have.
was
How
like, whatever.
those motherfuckers.
You guys are so predictable.
They should
anyway.
see you now.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
right.
And speaking of, why that's a great time to do an introduction. Paulina Johnson, welcome to whatever this is. And
Thank you.
we are so honored to have you. You're our Creative of the Year for Youngbloods.
Thank you.
And so much of that is because you are not fucking basic or normal or cheugy.
Thank you.
Despite what some white dude stranger said.
Thanks. Yeah, this is really cool. Thanks for having me. I've never done anything like this, so you guys just bear with me.
This was a lot of like, no, Paulina, please do this. You're gonna be great.
I was like,
A
no,
lot of pride.
I'm
So
terrified.
you're already doing awesome.
Thank you.
The climate is good for you in the Florida room. Where
We got some
are.
jellyfish going
Yeah.
over here.
This
We got to
is
name a lot of plants before we leave.
Got some
over
work to do.
85 plants.
We got
In here?
Tegan.
This is probably the bulk. I would say 75% live in here, and maybe 20. That might be. It might be less.
Some good math.
More in here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
you're
yeah.
stacked.
I love the coexistence though, because there's some plants that need. Sorry, people can't see that. But I don't know. should be
Imagine.
watching
Use
me,
your
but
imaginations.
There's a lot of succulents, and then there's some That's
Rubber
like a
tree?
foresty kind of plant, right?
Rubber tree, fig tree over there. A little pepperonia. Some milkweed what is that? Milk thistle? What is that?
Oof.
The cactus that you and Vivi
We all have.
African milk
I don't know.
thistle?
Which one are we talking about?
Like this guy, the one that you all have.
Oh,
The tall one?
Yeah.
I don't know what that's called, but you
I
gave me a
think it's-
clipping.
Yeah, I think it's an African milkweed. Vivian looked it up, I
I
think.
love that one.
Or something. Although that doesn't seem like, why would you call that a milkweed? It's clearly a cactus.
Right.
So I could be mixing some wires here.
Did the aloe come from us? What did we give you?
No, what did you give us? You gave us some greenery of a different
Yeah.
kind, and we gave you some jade, I think.
I remember that. Maybe I don't know. I thought it was aloe, but
I think all the aloes from City Market and
well,
Walmart?
we have like
Walmart.
15 aloes at our house.
Yes.
So we want more.
The aloe life.
I always want more aloe.
I don't
you
have
know?
any.
I
right
had
now.
one aloe.
Do you
Just
want
one.
aloe? Do you want?
Do you need
Please,
I
some
need
aloe?
an aloe.
I'll take an aloe.
Take aloe.
Aloe.
Take aloe. I would need aloe. We'll
Aloe.
volunteer Andy's aloe to give away. Someone.
Just start
Oh,
trimming
the
it.
aloe.
Aloe.
He likes to propagate it, so we got a lot. Yeah, he enjoys it.
It's so much
But
fun.
but it also likes to what is it? What's the word? But it likes to
Propagate.
yeah.
It likes to propagate on its
Yeah.
own without Andy's help.
Yeah, no, it grows little baby aloes like crazy.
Mine's
so
doing
just-
that right now. I was
Really?
wondering
it
what
just
was
goes
happening.
yeah, it goes, so we got tons of them. We just keep on multiplying them.
So then, do you just kind of take out the
That's
baby and
aloes.
repot it?
Mhm.
Okay,
That's
But
what
they
how
like
you end
s-
up with 20 pounds.
They like spring off like little babies.
Does it kill the other one if you leave it? Okay.
I don't think so. It just grows big.
Love it.
Aloe into it. This is a whole new world. I mean, I get to live in plants, but I don't really have to do anything for that existence.
That's really very cool because that's a lot of watering right now.
It is, and I'm like, I don't know what the system is. And for a very brief moment, my partner tore his Achilles, and so I did have to do some of the watering. But when I think about it, I put it in perspective. He was very easy on me, and I really did not do that much watering.
He's like, just
Considering how many
forget the
plants we
succulents,
have.
just do the other ones.
I do. He did say, he's like, I'm fucking, that was the gateway, I think, for a lot of people, especially coming into the pandemic, succulents were like, okay, this is accessible. And then it just totally got out of hand.
It did. How much
We really put our feelings into plants.
It was wild. I was obsessed with the plant life early quarantine.
You're a total plant inspo.
I feel like I
for me.
really took off. Tom got into cactuses and I got into houseplants, and it's been now I'm chilling on it a little bit because I feel like I am out of room. But I'm curious how you guys water yours. Do you bring water to it, or do you take them somewhere and water them?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think I know the answer to this. Again, disclaimer, I'm not the one who takes care of any of the plants. Little watering cans.
Okay.
I think that's
that.
the move, yeah. And
I
then
should get one of those.
and then we have the humidifier too, so that
I don't know.
keeps the stream.
I'm gonna
very
say I
moist.
don't know about that. That little guy would take 3 hours to water all these plants.
No, that's not efficient. Take it outside and just hose.
Maybe
it.
that's my problem. I'm trying to be efficient, and maybe I need to just enjoy the process. Right?
Yeah.
And some, I will say, some of the plants don't make it. But that it's
It happens to
There's
all
no
of us.
promises.
yeah. And in that case, there was we had this black ZZ plant,
Oh,
which
saw
I
some
guess are
downstairs.
super hard to kill, but when we got it, it turns out it already had plant or root rot, and then it was a process of trying to work through the root rot of it, and it still was not
So you guys
it's just
killed
like
it.
a branch. But now actually, I mean, and there's one down there too. It actually looks like it's coming back. And I didn't know that it had root rot. And so I was like trying to water it, thinking it looked like it needed some water. So, like I just do the occasional like drop in like plant
Think of
helicoptering. Yeah, and like not helping at all. Just like totally fucking up BB's system. So yeah, maybe I'll have to like peep him and I'll record his system for everyone.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
He just seems, although I mean I have to imagine it runs in his blood. His mother is a green thumb plant lady too, so just things flourish under their care and attention.
It
What
really
can I
does.
say? Tegan and I can attest to that.
Oh, that's sweet.
But in our tangenting, which is par for the course, and anyone at this juncture would know.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
I love it.
Monthly hang. Bring
Yeah.
the girls together.
And there's activism within. Even if we don't see it as such yet.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Oh, you
I mean,
see
just
it,
you
for sure.
being a brown woman in a creative artistic space in a gallery.
Arctic is a good way to say it.
Arctic 10 months out of the year. Sometimes it gets a 12th in there. But I mean, let's talk about your amazing glow up. I was thinking today, I'm like, how did you even get to us? I also like Dee and Paulina just met today for the first time, which feels crazy.
I feel like I've known you forever. I love it.
And I'm like,
I know.
but then how did you find Young Bloods? And then we need to just talk about your life. Your life is a glow up. You're so amazing.
You're so sweet. I don't remember how I found you. So I was in grad school when we moved here.
And this is when you were working on your book.
Yes. Well, so I went back. So my background's in graphic design. And I was a graphic designer forever. Like the minute I went into undergraduate, that's what I studied and that's what I worked at and that's what I did for a really, really long time until I had our first boy. We have 2 boys. And then my husband and I agreed that I would quit my full-time job.
Doing graphic design.
Do the graphic design on the side.
Okay.
Take care of the boys. So the boys then finally got to the age where they were both in school. And I decided I really wanted to sort of re-immerse myself in what I was doing before. So I went back to school, especially because I really like teaching. Went back to school to get my MFA in graphic design. Figured out I didn't want to be a graphic designer at all anymore.
What broke it for you?
I think the program that I found, which I highly, highly recommend to anyone anywhere near that realm, through VCFA, which is the Vermont College of Fine Arts. It's a student-led program, and so you get to basically, you decide your curriculum, you decide your focus, you decide everything. It's really
cool.
Really cool. And it's a low residency program. So I lived in South Carolina and we moved here. So I was able to stay there and I would only go to Vermont every 6 months for about a week.
Okay.
So through my studies, one of my professors asked me, okay, I want you to make a list of 10 things you love about graphic design and 10 things you hate about graphic design. And
It's a big list.
yeah, this is a lot. But what kept popping up when I focused more on the hate, to be honest. And I was like, I hate how much junk mail it produces. I hate how much consumerism it promotes. There was a lot of that. And so she was like, okay, so do something with that.
Love it.
And so I started working with junk mail, and that's how I got to working with paper. And that's where I realized I love paper. I love the texture of it. I love how versatile it is. Anyway, so by the time I moved here, I was kind of committed to working with paper, and I was also kind of committed to leaving design and becoming a full-time artist. And I don't remember if someone recommended you guys, or maybe I just Googled art. So I don't even know. I don't know.
Fate, the Utes.
But I don't know if I became
Spirit of the Utes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you guys were, this is when you were still exhibiting at the Smoke House? What was it called? Yeah. So that was my first show ever. When I brought in this little piece made on wood with like paper on it. And I was like, please put it on your wall.
That was your first show ever? I don't think I did that at the time. Did I? Maybe I did. That feels like so long ago.
Yeah, that was like
2016,
maybe
2017.
18,
like
18,
17,
18?
Yeah,
Wow.
like 18.
So I've been so thankful for you. Your guys' platform just kind of gave me courage. And I mean, it really, for sure, because I was like, well, now I'm making all this stuff that, yeah, I'm making it for me, but I kind of want to put it out to the world somewhere.
Yes.
And I had nowhere else to put it out. And you are all super welcoming and super like, hey, let's do it. And from that then on, for sure. So
That's amazing.
yeah, that was a long story. Sorry.
That was a great origin story.
Okay. Apologize for that.
Okay.
Yeah, and what a nice refresher. And I'm like, gosh, it's just like a flashback to, and and you do have on your Instagram, and we posted in our stories today. But also there is a little folder on our Instagram, or like this is so Cheugy right now. That we have a creative of the year, and so we'll just keep adding little highlights. But we did a little highlight reel, and it was really fun to go through your Instagram and just be like, God, just like the trajectory and like what you're doing with your work is so incredible. And like to think that Youngbloods and like this organization had any part in that is just, that feels fucking rad.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel very, very grateful for that. Because you really did provide a platform that felt safe and encouraging, and it was really what I needed at that time. I still do. I mean, yeah, you guys tell me where to go. I'll go.
Well, and let's talk about that. So now you were at fucking Pine Moon Art Gallery, which for local Steamboat and Yampa Valley, this is just, our homegirls have been with us from the start, really encouraging to our organization as a whole. We used to host this event, Crit and Cocktails, and they were one of our first venues. And to learn about all of these women and the different mediums that they use and like how they got to the place where they are as artists is so cool. And for having any kind of artistic diversity in this town, I would say that they have the lock on that, and we're so proud to like know them in the capacity that they've we've been able to support one another, and then to have you in this fucking gallery, and it's a co-op gallery.
Yeah.
And so do you want to talk about the process of like getting into that? What made you take that leap to say, hey, I want to be part of what you're doing?
Maybe I don't remember the details of that either.
And that's okay. We can move this tangent along too. But
no, I mean, I applied first to Riverwalk Collective, which is a part of Steamboat Creates, and I was with them for a couple of months. But sometime right after that, I had heard of I know. So, okay, I remember now.
It all comes back to you. And I mean, the pandemic has totally shifted the perception of time. So,
yes.
we're all with you.
So one of the first jobs that I got, actually, so I'm going to backtrack, when I moved to Steamboat, is I teach at CMC. I teach design, like the Photoshop, Illustrator, all of the classes that relate to design and design software more specifically. And I remember so clearly one day after class, which was probably on a Friday, I was like, I'm going to go down to Pine Moon and just talk to somebody. Like, I felt really courageous that day. Yes. And Sandy Graves was the artist working that day. So I just sat there and I chatted with her, and she was so encouraging, so sweet. Here's the paperwork, here's the info. Hey, maybe you should apply because we're going to be looking for someone really soon. And so I was like, yes, absolutely. I tried to put on my professional graphic designer hat to make my presentation as like professional and good as possible. And so I applied. I don't remember I don't remember the exact steps, but I was notified that it was between me and one more artist towards the end, and I was not the artist that they ended up picking at that point in time. Maybe you guys didn't know that.
I think I did, because they went with Jill, right?
Yeah, which is
Jill
awesome.
Bergman, also local artist.
Yeah.
She's like a printmaker, lino cutter.
Oh, okay.
Very different style of work, but yeah, okay.
And from what I've heard, the biggest critique from my presentation was the fact that I was presenting my work as too wabi-sabi. Like I was like, well, it's gonna decompose, because all of my framing was very not protected, not archival.
Do you want to define wabi-sabi?
So wabi-sabi is a Japanese aesthetic philosophy, which believes that everything at some point decomposes and there's beauty in that decomposition. Did I describe that? Did I describe that properly?
You nailed that.
So that was your intention with your art?
Not necessarily my intention, but my okay with it.
Mhm.
Like I know this is
inevitable.
archival. This is going to happen. A little bit of a backstory. At some previous time in my graduate studies, I did a lot of research on plastic, and I have issues with the fact that plastic doesn't decompose. So fast forward, I wanted to create work that at some point in, I don't know, 100, 500, whoever, it doesn't even matter how many years, it's going to become part of the earth again in a positive way, sustainable way. I don't even know what the right word would be. So
non-impactful.
yes, I was never here, and it's okay, you know? So I work with paper, I work with wood, I work with glass. I do not work with plastic, still to this day. And so my presentation at that point was too hardcore on that end. And I understand it, because people who are going to spend a lot of money on work, on artwork, and who are collectors want it to have a value for an extended period of time. So you can, I think now I've learned you can be both.
Right.
You can be conscious of earth and your impact, but you can also work with materials that are going to last for long enough that a collector can have value in their work. So,
and I mean, art is always so subjective, and
yeah.
But for me, I love that you take that stance. I also like feel that way in my work, even though it is directly on plastic.
Well, but you're repurposing.
Right.
That's different, yeah.
But like giving up to the notion that like we can't like encapsulate time, like we don't get to hang on to any of this, like we're fooling ourselves, you know,
transient.
Like enjoy it for the fucking moment that you have it, and that's it. That's
and that
all
can
we're
be an
promised.
impact, like the fact that you know that it's not forever, like you appreciate it harder when you have it, and then you know it's not going to be there forever. So I feel like that leaves a better impact and like memory of like what you've made, and like you want to just preserve that. So that's really
and not make a harder impact on the environment.
Yeah.
So they told you like we're not going to choose you.
Yeah. But I mean, everyone in that gallery is so awesome. So they were very sweet about it. And, and then everyone I ran into afterwards were like, well, we really want to get you back in. And so I ended up getting invited a few months later. I think they made a new partition where there was a little bit more space. And so then I got invited to be a guest member.
Amazing.
Tegan's got a little cough. Hairball.
Yeah, and I'm there now. So, and I feel, oh my gosh, so fortunate, and it's
a
pretty
beautiful
incredible.
space.
And it's been a couple of years now, right? 2 years? A year? What is time?
Maybe, exactly. It's so relative. Yeah, maybe a year and a half, maybe
Oh, gosh.
something like that.
Those little years. Okay. Do the hurdle, Betty.
Oh, we got a pup tangled.
So yeah, that's where I am now, and I feel really super fortunate to be there.
Yeah.
I need to tap into all of the artists' like background and knowledge a little bit more. I think we all get so caught up in, making our work and doing what we're doing, and I think we need to make a little more time for that. Be good.
Like community within each other.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm still really new to what I'm doing.
But you wouldn't know.
What
you're creating.
Your presentation is
insane.
just so polished. And,
Thank you. No, I appreciate
the aesthetic is really.
It's fresh. It's really beautiful.
Thank you. But I mean, everyone in the gallery knows a lot, 20-fold more than I do. So I need to tap into that.
I mean, Paulina, I think you have to give yourself credit. And,
You're hanging with the
don't
big dogs.
dismiss. You're hanging with big dogs, but also, and not to be rude, ladies, but old dogs, you know, and I think that they're very candid about that. There is, you know, they're of the old guard. It's just what it is. And a lot of them tend to be more traditional in their mediums. And like you and Jill and Missy. I mean, even though Missy's like acrylic, the way she moves that paint is so different, you know. And I think there's a lot to say for the new blood that you bring into that gallery, and I think that it's such a mutually beneficial relationship. And
Thank you. I hope so. Yeah, I think it's a positive for sure.
How does it work? Do you put up art from the beginning of the month and then just change it out every month, or can you?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the really cool parts of about our model is every month is a new show entirely, and our goal is to have new work every month. At least my goal is to have one, maybe even two pieces come into the gallery that are totally new every month.
yes,
How much do you have up? Or space?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't remember there's like a very precise like square foot or square inch allowance for
Mhm.
everybody.
Everyone's fair.
Very fair.
Oh, cool.
Super fair. And Susan Corser, who's our current curator, does an amazing job of like making it very fair. But what's also cool about our model is that we spread our work around. So a lot of galleries do like, this is the wall for this artist,
Yeah,
and this is the wall for
right.
that artist. But we spread it around, which means it has to be literally curated to like size and color palette and theme. And so it all works together when you're inside. And that's not easy.
no.
I mean, Susan does an
No.
amazing
That
job.
is
Collaboration.
that's
that
its
everyone
own
has to be okay
artistic-
with.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, absolutely.
Its
That's
own
sweet.
artistry
What a
to
like
curate
good
a
challenge
show.
for everybody.
Yeah. And so I think that's one of the reasons why when people come into the gallery, they enjoy the work that much more, because it's not just this square for this person, it's a
Right.
whole experience. So
And you also do like collaborative shows, right?
yeah. So the front room as you come into the gallery is reserved for solo shows or group shows that have a theme. So you can have, so like for example, last September, maybe it was the one before. Let's forget 2020.
Yeah, 2020 is a wash. We just move on.
So Jill Bergman and Sandy Poltoric and I had a show, the three of us, in which we were just like all monochrome work. And it was really cool because Sandy works only in pencil and charcoal. Jill works in ink. She's a printmaker, and I work in paper. So very different mediums, but there was a common like theme.
what was that show called? Do you remember?
Pencil, paper, ink.
Yep. And I think that was in the stories today. I pulled like
Oh,
a couple
great.
of your shows,
Ooh.
and although today, I mean, whenever this.
Yeah, and that was great. I want to keep doing that because I think working with someone who's doing something totally different, or who sees the world in a different way, kind of, it's so informative, and it's so it's an inspiration, really. So yeah. You and I should do a show together.
I would love that.
Wouldn't that be
so
fun?
sweet?
I was just thinking that too, of how like, well, how Dee like inspires me to do, I mean, even like roller skating or listening to podcasts, and you know, just that like how we influence each other so much in small ways, and like how that can impact our like creative output.
For sure.
And
Roller skating.
I know, I was stuck on that too.
Like,
I have roller skates.
girl,
Yes.
for real?
Yes.
Dude, this is how.
Let's go.
Have you guys got them
How
out?
have you not? How have you
Oh, they're
not?
out. I look at them all the time, and I'm like,
Ooh, get them on.
Oh,
There's
they
like a
would
big
be.
party, a roller party. June.
June 18th.
Yeah, they're bringing up like
Steamroller
a whole like flooring that we can.
in the
with, like, a
Wells
big
Fargo
box?
parking lot.
I hope a DJ and like
I
night
think the
skate.
DJ, yeah,
I have like
night
wheels
skate.
on my skates or light ups. Are your light up wheels?
No.
I don't have
That's
light
okay.
ups,
That's okay.
but they're Adidas.
What?
Mhm.
Girl.
That sounds super sweet.
Blue with like yellow stripe.
Did you just like have a day where you'd like go to the roller rinks and stuff?
No.
What was your
Wait,
experience?
how do you have roller skates?
I don't remember where I got it. I loved roller skating when I was a little kid.
Like in California? Is that where you
No,
grew up?
in Mexico.
In Mexico City?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're from Mexico City.
Yep.
And so you grew up roller skating in Mexico City. I mean, that's
Well, I guess in LA too. Except we didn't do like the Venice Beach kind of. That would have been sweet.
Like
I wish
the
I could do that
vibe.
with the slow mo.
Oh my gosh, the performance on Venice Beach.
So that has to be like the New York Central Park version.
Yeah,
What
probably.
they do.
Yeah,
It's just that like 70s slow.
they have like
classic.
the boom box and yeah.
Mm.
Well, let's go roller rinking.
Let's go. Yes.
Roller skating together.
Oh, can I tell you what my roller derby name would be if I ever won?
Yes. Yes.
Paper cuts.
Paper cuts.
Paper cut.
Your like signature move would just be like coming
With your nails.
Yeah, with the nails.
I didn't know it was a thing that you could have too thick a nail that they cut bitches
Yeah.
or children or both.
Or boxes.
Or
I mean, it can be
boxes.
practical.
But
If
you have to keep them short in order to
Yeah.
protect everyone from
everyone
your...
around. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I
Your
can't
paper
wait to
cut
like
nails.
roller skate over to Paulina's house and be like, can paper cuts come out? You just lace up. You're like, yeah, let's go.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's gonna be so fun. If you have never watched this documentary called "We Are the Champions,"
Never.
you gotta watch it. It's like a Netflix, and they have different themes. Like the first one is cheese rolling. I'm not even gonna like rolling down a hill after a cheese.
Okay.
It's a thing. But there's one on roller derby too, which is sweet.
Like literally a cheese. Like
So this is a tradition from like literally the 1800s, and I want to
Okay.
say it's in England. So they
Okay.
have like this gigantic ball of cheese that they roll down this super steep hill, and people have to run after the cheese. But of course, everyone's like falling and like somersaults and mud and broken arms and stuff.
Oh my God,
And
just
whoever
the fucking cheese.
whoever crosses the line like first
Yeah.
wins the cheese.
Ooh. And then you just eat all that cheese by yourself.
Concussed.
Just
like,
I'm fine. I'm ready to go, and I got my cheese.
That's like $1,000 worth of cheese right there.
But and
We
like,
are the
is it
champions.
protected at all, or like?
It's
you're
in
Well,
just-
the
Ryan,
cheese has no
maybe?
problem. Yeah.
It's still run.
It's the people
Okay,
that are
it's run.
broken.
It's run.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to be clear, you know, I just see this cheese wad with sticks and
You're
like
just
debris.
like the Hubble fog.
Yeah. No.
There's one on that. There's one on roller derby. There's one on this like Italian tradition where like two villages come together and like fist fight. Anyway, you have to watch this. It's like insane.
This is all. Wait, this is all one documentary.
Yeah, so every episode is like
I'm into that.
Oh.
on a different We Are the
like
Champions.
a show documentary.
yeah.
Oh, I do feel like I've seen. I think I like their font. Do they have a good font?
Ooh, I should know this. It's a good thing I don't remember this.
Are you a
I
font?
could also. I mean,
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know Queen, but
nerd.
oh my goodness. Yeah.
And that was like your original, I mean, I don't know if that was original, but Copper Case, you used to kind of go by that moniker on Instagram. But that was based on some typeset, right?
Well, it was the name of my little design boutique.
Okay.
So that's what I was for a really long time. Usually as a designer, you have like this alter ego name, you know. So that was it. And so
Copper Case.
during that time, I worked a lot with nonprofits and stuff.
And so, and you did, there was like a t-shirt design in there that you did.
Yeah, I've done t-shirts. I love designing books. Still to this day, that's the one thing I'll still do and love. That I did a lot of marketing materials, websites. I mean, all the design, graphic design.
And so what are you doing now full time? You are just dedicated at Pine Moon making art,
Yeah.
2 pieces at least a month.
Yeah, that's the goal. Sometimes I make more, but they don't work out. So then I have to chuck them. And that happens.
And you just like, do you repurpose or you have to chuck it because of the
depends on,
nature of it?
yeah, a lot of times I just put it in the recycling bin, but it's all paper.
It's all
so-
recyclable. That's great.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
What are you working on now?
So for some reason I'm stuck on this theme of like bodies of water. Oh my gosh, I would love to get ideas from you guys. go. But so right now I'm doing
Might be
like
Cheugy.
nature bodies of water. It might be, and that's right. But like rivers and lakes and so what I'm doing is using positive and negative space to show the difference between like masses of land and bodies of water.
Can you go into how you do that for people who might not have seen your work yet and will now see it after watching this?
Yeah. So I usually reference a photo of sorts, and sometimes it's mine and sometimes it's not, and I feel like that's okay because it's all about shapes. And then so I do still leverage my comfort level with Photoshop, Illustrator. So I'll create a template with the photo or whatever it is that I'm looking at, and I'll designate what areas will be positive space and negative space. And the positive space, okay, so in design we can also call it form and counterform, in case the positive and negative space is confusing or weird. And so form is where there's stuff, counterform is where it's empty. And for me right now, counterform is where the bodies of water are, or sky. If that makes any sense. Does that make sense?
I might have ripped too many bonds.
No, it does make sense.
Okay.
That's the negative. What would that be?
Mhm.
Negative, positive. That'd be negative. Sky.
Positive space is form, negative space is counterform.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't matter. You can use whichever.
Okay, I'm with you.
And so within form, let's say that's where I have like the mountains or I have like the roads. And so that's where I put my strips of paper and I create lines to give it depth. And what I do is I basically just cut strips of paper and glue them on their side.
Oh, I would have thought you like put slits in and then like slid paper in the slits.
It does kind of look like that sometimes.
Because it looks like, how did you say you stick the paper?
So I have a really, really fine point glue applicator.
Dang.
Yeah,
So
like how fine.
this is super OCD, you guys. And I'm okay with them admitting that.
I mean,
So I'll have my template and then I'll basically draw with glue and then set the paper down where that glue strip is.
but like, it's not like the paper's folded, like on the edge or anything. You're like pressing the like edge of the paper unfolded.
Yep.
It's just like a
onto your
certain
tiny ass glue line
Yes.
that you can't see it all.
Well, I do use the glue that dries clear, so that helps.
I mean, but you can't fucking see anything on it.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance to see
The
IRL,
details.
it's unreal.
Wow.
And it just is even more mind-boggling to hear you talk about it, like that is actually what you do.
You're admitting that you're a wizard. We're amongst royalty.
Or totally OCD.
Yes.
So
Wow.
the piece that I'm working on now is kind of big. It's like 24 by 34, I think. And so that's what I did all day today is like draw a little curvy line and set the little paper down and draw the next curvy line.
In paper, how big are we talking? Like each piece of paper that you're putting?
So I've been kind of playing a little bit with that. This piece that I'm working on right now, every strip of paper is like 3/8 of an inch tall. But I have worked on pieces where like it like decreases and increases, but I just haven't like wrapped around my head what it does visually. I don't have like a complete understanding, so I'm kind of messing with both and figuring out. But it's cool because so I have figured out if you have a dark background and a really light strip of paper, so there's a lot of contrast, then it creates this like moving effect almost if you move side by side or side to side on the like just around the piece. But I haven't figured out what happens if the strips of paper do decrease in size, which I have done it before a bit. It's just a lot. So
What is your cutting process like? Is it like
it's okay.
We got a liquor.
What's that?
Just he can go into town.
Tell me more.
He uses people as salt licks.
It's okay, I don't care.
Going
It's so
for
much
it.
love.
Okay.
Like getting gummy.
He burped in her face.
Okay.
You know,
We're like,
you know,
We're good, we're tight, it's all good.
this one knows no bounds.
So I'm sorry, what was your question? I got lost there.
So
Do you like
distracted
cut
by-
ahead of time and like prep your paper?
So
Is
I've
that like a
done
whole like measuring? Because you said how long it was. I was like, oh, there's some detail. into this?
So I've done it in every possible way you could do. So say for example, I'm working on mountains and I have like 3 masses of mountains and I've decided I do want them to decrease in size. So then I have a Cricut machine. Have you heard of those? Yeah. So then I'll like,
great things.
so there's like, say like 10 strips or 30 strips to that specific, then with Illustrator, I'll calculate like it's going to decrease by, 30. Oh my gosh, is that supposed to be like by 30 steps? And so then I'll create the template and it'll cut the paper. So I've done it that way.
Sweet.
Wow.
But I have also done it just by hand, which is a really cool other process where I'll like cut one side straight and then just cut by hand the other. So it gives it a little more depth and texture in that way.
Because it's a little more free form.
Yeah, it's still, still OCD, no matter which way you look at it.
Not that free form.
So I aim to get to a point where I feel really comfortable, like just like that, no plan, but I'm not there yet. So there's usually a plan to where, and sometimes I have to change gears, halfway through or a quarter way through, or sometimes the piece that I'm working on now is a remake of a piece I finished last week, which I didn't like. So
are you doing a whole different technique for this round?
Same technique, but the composition was not right.
Oh, gotcha. Have you been commissioned much for work?
A little bit, but I have found
Do you like that?
I don't really like commissions.
You don't like being
Yeah,
told
you're
what
like,
to do.
you're.
And
What was the request?
I'll tell you which one I've been putting off for a little bit that I haven't done. But I think the reason I don't love commissions is the fact that I was in graphic design for so long, and graphic design is all about making somebody else's idea come to life. Somebody else is creating a business and they need a logo. Somebody else is running a marketing campaign and they need this brochure. And so you're almost a tool. Not really. You do have agency and you have creative thought, but ultimately it's someone else's work that you're bringing to life. And so now that I'm doing my own work, when someone tells me what to do, it's not as fun.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. You're like, what was the request?
So I've done a few that have been fun, but the latest one, I had someone come into the gallery who wants me to do it. Can't even say it. Some toothpaste and a toothbrush because he sells dental art.
Okay.
Wait.
Wait. So
like he's a dentist?
No, he sells dental art to dentists.
Okay.
Oh, I hope he's
caught
well.
that one.
He wouldn't be watching, but
He won't find this.
it's a tube of toothpaste. He wants me to make a tube of toothpaste
Uh-huh.
coming onto a
And then he's
Coming
gonna
onto
sell
a
it
toothbrush.
to dentists.
Yeah.
I feel like your price point's gotta be like high on
I
that.
mean, but like
He's
he's
making
only
money off
selling
of
it to one dentist office.
Well,
So
he's
you're-
like,
Right.
he's like, oh, this is gonna bring the money in. This is gonna be your money maker. I'm sure this is how you
I
wanna
already
make your
said this is
money.
the only one I'm making. I'm not making dental art.
Okay, so you did specify this.
I
is
actually
it,
went back
bud.
and I said, I don't think I'm the right artist for
Mhm.
you.
I'm
I
just
don't-
gonna ask, like, do you ever feel comfortable, like, saying,
Yeah.
like, I'm okay?
I'm okay not.
I
don't
thought
think it'll work.
I did, but then he's like, okay, just make the one.
Right. He like talked to you. And
That was like 3 months ago, and I still haven't done it. Oh God!
Wait,
I
but
need to
has
go
he
do
put
it.
any money down?
No.
Then no, you're fine.
Oh, okay, thank you.
yeah, we don't need that.
If there's no money, there's no. Unless you see the money.
Okay. Yeah, I like it, and he doesn't. He's not. I don't think willing to put a ton of money into it. Maybe that's another reason I'm like,
Yeah, and
I'm not in a
you
rush.
know, I think that's been something really interesting that like in a lot of podcasts that descends me, but in like general life too, of like people just kind of working through this pandemic life of being like, I'm not gonna say yes to everything. Like, yeah, it might be money right now, but like the time and energy and bandwidth it takes to maybe do that is not worth it to me, because it you know, like it's how much could that possibly be worth, right?
Yeah.
And for like the heartache, even though it seems, you know, but it's not you, right? Like it's hard to be doing work that's not you when you're like, I'm committing to myself and
Right.
like I'm here for me. And if you're, you know, if you're asking me to be something I'm not, you know, we were talking about that earlier. like,
Right.
the Baptists are like, okay, you know, right? If you're not gay and you're, not of color, whatever, all the things.
Yeah, no, learning to say no it's a skill. It's not that easy sometimes.
It's not easy. And no one
Especially
teaches you to
for,
do that.
like a small business owner, which is what I've been for a long time. I mean, when I very first went on my own, I was like, I'm going to take every and any job that comes my way because this is what I have to do.
Yeah. And you're
You're right over there.
yeah, I know for sure. Like the starting point, you're like just excited and eager, and you're like, I don't want to say no. I want to like get my name, like, and it feels right. And then you hit a point of like, okay, like I feel like so much more confident, and like I kind of can use that leverage a little bit towards your advantage and make people kind of work into your vision versus
And be
like,
assertive.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
Advocating for yourself,
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Learning to say no is advocating for yourself. I mean, it really depends on everyone's circumstance, I suppose. There's instances in life when you can't afford to say no, and that's okay too.
Right, totally.
Right.
So are you like going on hikes right now, like looking for like water, to do your next series you're talking about, like?
So I really want this bodies of water to not only be about nature, but I haven't figured out how to pools like
hot tubs.
Yes,
Hot springs?
like bodies and vessels of water, like
Yes,
water
humans.
tanks. Yes.
She's onto it.
So yeah,
Okay.
I've been trying to figure out how to make a pool, like a really cool, like Palm Springs, like mid-century kind of pool, but I haven't done it yet.
Oh,
I want to
yes,
go to Palm
girl.
Springs so bad. Have you been?
That's a really funny question because this spring break we were gonna go to Palm Springs. I mean, we were going to Palm Springs. We got a house in Palm Springs. And then we were not in Palm Springs. We were in India, which is like 45 minutes away. If you can remember that.
India.
Indio.
Oh,
Indio.
okay.
Like India Wells, like
It's the
tennis.
909. It's the 9.
Sarah's over here dropping zip codes. My
You
girl.
know what
It's like
is.
it's a culture. It's a culture.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Did you like it there?
It was fine. But Palm Springs would have been way more fun. But you know what? It was perfect. We were with family. We were far enough away from the crowds and all that stuff.
Yep.
And it's that time to be that.
Did you get in a body of water?
No, it's like in the middle of the day. Well, we had a pool. We had a pool.
Yeah.
But Palm Springs itself is awesome. And I love like the mid-century, like all of it. I love
Because it's like mid-century, we're talking 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
Old glamour.
So we actually,
Halloween's.
my kids were asking me as we were there, and so we were Googling. So the reason Palm Springs came about was because Hollywood, is kind of like scandalous. And back then it was a place where like celebrities could go escape from like the press and the paparazzis, and they could go and do their shenanigans. And then they would come back. Yeah.
That makes
All
a lot
the
of
stuff
sense.
in Palm Springs. That's
Yes,
why
it
it's
felt
a
very-
homo playground.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And that's where there's a lot of golf, not clubs, what are they called? Courses, and
In the clubs and
Yeah.
bars.
the houses are so cool. Like the original, like ranch style homes with like pools and palm trees. Oh, so cool.
Oh man, we need to rent a house.
Yes.
Do an art retreat out there.
Oh,
do you ever do
I
that?
would love that.
That'd be so
I haven't
cool.
done it, but I will for sure. And I have been to Palm Springs at other points in my life, but I was supposed to go just a couple years ago and I missed it.
Rob.
Because I really wanted. There's great art there. I really wanted to
Mm.
go kind of gallery hopping, and I
How
didn't get
big
to
is
do it.
How big is that
It's
town?
really big now,
Okay.
Is it like
especially because
Santa
it spreads
Fe?
out now.
Not that I know, but
Santa Fe's not big.
it's bigger than Santa Fe.
Well, I think probably because it spreads out. So it spreads into like there's La Quinta, there's a town called La Quinta, there's Indio and Palm Springs. I mean, there's like tons, very much LA. Like it's just like spread out. It's everywhere. I don't know if like proper Palm Springs is too big, but there's just so much.
Is it near Joshua Tree?
Yeah, it really is. Yep.
Yeah, I'd love to go out there.
And it's the desert, so it's beautiful in its own way, for sure.
All right. I know that you came on here being like, I don't think I'm intersectional or whatever. But let's get into, and you know, you say nacho whenever. That's Paulina's safe word tonight. So we're all honoring nacho.
Nachos.
Nachos.
We need more than one.
Nachos, to be clear. You're right, girl. Thank you. You're a brown woman in this very white town and community. Has that cropped up?
Not really, to be totally honest. I felt it so, I mean, we were talking about earlier, I lived in South Carolina for a long time. I felt it a lot more there.
Interesting.
But I don't really feel it here.
What can you like speak to any of like what did you feel in South Carolina?
So within the first year that we moved there, so it was just my husband and I, we weren't even married when we first moved there. We were really curious about going into a Confederate shop. And because I've never been.
Just like,
I don't know. Why not? Like, to me, I wasn't going to buy anything or support, but
right.
I also, there's a lot of part of me that always wants to understand the other perspective of any argument. And not that I was in an argument of any sort, but we just wanted to go check it out.
You need to know for yourself.
And the minute I walked in, I was like, oh.
What is a Confederate shop?
Literally Confederate paraphernalia, flags. I think they're actually called Dixie shops.
Okay.
Down there. And I just have never felt that way, but I just like wanted to get out immediately.
Did you feel like hateful? Like you were uncomfortable?
I felt very uncomfortable. I mean, there was no one hating on me, but I definitely didn't feel like I belonged. Maybe that's the right way to put it. It just, I don't know. Energy, I don't know what it was.
But I mean, like even your husband as a white man, or not your husband then, but now, did he have any reaction?
I don't know if as much as me.
Yeah.
But we got out and we were like, oh, that was really weird.
Yeah.
That was like, and that's the only, of
Head
course,
for the
the only
hills.
time that we.
Okay, we did that now.
Yeah.
We can go home.
Yeah, but I love the South and I love South Carolina. It's a beautiful place, like anywhere else. It's all about the people. But there's definitely a lot more weight to a lot more things there than I think there are in the West, from my experience. Everything that I'm saying is from my experience. It's not an ultimate truth, I don't think.
You're like not a monolith. D is not a monolith.
Right.
Yeah. So here I don't know. I don't feel like I need to think of myself as different, if that makes any sense. And I don't want to think of myself as different necessarily. So here's a philosophy I have. Think of like middle of the winter, January, when it's like super snowy, and we're riding down Lincoln, and you look up the ski mountain, and there's all these little dots on the mountain.
Little ants everywhere.
You don't know if they're white, they're black, they're brown, they're female, they're male. People. That's how I want to feel all the time, and that's how I aim to feel all the time. We're all people, right? And I've been fortunate enough to not like have a thumb on me, like. So I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, girl.
Would you consider yourself like white passing, or not
Ooh,
necessarily?
I don't know what that means.
So that's like a topic that I've heard a lot about in the last like year, and that's people of color that have like lighter skin tones, that in a situation to the like layman eye, like you wouldn't seem of a culture other than like white. Like you're white passing, like you're
like if you didn't tell people
you're
Mexican,
would people like assume
that you're white?
Yes, but I have also been Hawaiian passing.
Mm-hmm.
I have also been Cambodian passing. I have also been, and this is true. My sister-in-law lives in Cambodia, and I had people assume I was Cambodian. I have been to Hawaii, and I had people assume I was Hawaiian.
Locals or white people assuming your face?
That's a good perspective.
But no, I guess, yeah, that's an interesting experience. Like,
I think, there's this artist who I think you guys would all kind of love maybe, and this is from a really long time ago, but she did these I don't even know what they would be called, but she did these, she immersed herself in different cultures and dressed and acted like those cultures, and she passed as any of the cultures she immersed herself in.
And there was a white lady?
She was like me, like a big old mix of a bunch of stuff, who knows?
Yeah.
And so it worked.
Yeah.
You know, she wasn't like any extreme in a way, so she was in the middle of the road. And so she passed as like Asian, and she passed as like a chola, and then she passed as like a white girl, like all of it. And
does this relate to you at all? No.
A
A little bit.
Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty much like white passing around.
but I respect everyone's perspective and experience, and I don't think there's like a best way to be.
No.
You know? I think everyone's a little ant on the hill. You know, and everybody just at a little distance, and we're all the same.
Right.
I know there's definitely nuance. And I know there's definitely experiential differences, but if we all could just realize that we're all little ants on the hill, I think things would be a little bit more peaceful. No? What do you guys think?
I agree.
Absolutely.
This pandemic and social uprising and everything, it's really, I'm like, you know what? People need to do what's right for them, and like, you can't speak to that, no matter how much I might disagree.
Yeah.
I can't speak to what that person needs, so.
And I think like it would be an interesting perspective for people to have experienced the summer of like Black Lives Matter, like uprising in Steamboat versus like the South. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the South, like you're already like integrated a little bit more than like the Steamboat population. Absolutely. So like people in the South and like people that are like interacting with people of color and white people and like all different demographics naturally daily have a whole different like outlook of like what this whole thing has been. And I think Steamboat's perspective of it is a little like dramatic, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like what like the paper contrast.
Mm-hmm.
You know how like putting that like white sugar paper on dark paper, it just creates this contrast, and you're like, where like you're aware of it, but you can ultimately not interact with another person of color your entire day.
In Steamboat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that has like affected how people have like had their reckoning in the last like year, because if it's not something that they're experiencing every day, then you don't really have to practice kind of, or it's just like you can have like a whole different perspective of it. It can be lighter sometimes.
Yeah.
Or
you don't have to be as accountable, because like no one in your echo chamber is holding you accountable, and you have no like, you don't have to be accountable because you have no friends of color.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think people still, I don't know, this is going to sound really weird, but I do think that people here and in the West Coast are a little bit more accepting than in the South. Is that kind of opposite of what you were thinking?
I thought in the South it would be like they're more familiar with each other and like have like more experience, and like it's not like as like foreign in like the white
I would
states.
say like the West Coast that's like a true, and from my perspective, melting pot of acceptance. The South is not quite there yet.
It's still pretty heavily,
and that's why
segregated.
I was saying I felt like the most culture shock when I moved there, because there were things that I had never experienced, even if I had moved from one country to the other, not knowing the language. The first town specifically that we moved to, there would be a street that was called one way up until there was an intersection, and it was a white black neighborhood, and the name of the street changed, even though it was a straight street.
Like they separated themselves.
Yeah,
like
still a lot of
some gerrymandering bullshit.
Mindful separation, which is unnecessary. Although I'm not going to say that's the rule and that's how everyone is, because that's absolutely not true. But there is
There's a very
More noticeable.
a very clear segregation in, I mean, I think just in like cities, and I mean even St. Pete in Florida, that is, you know, for all intensive purposes progressive and liberal for Florida, has a very clear like north and south, and like the south is black and quickly being gentrified, obviously. But you know, like that was a very clear distinction in all of the early history of St. Pete, and like, you know, where property was valuable and where it wasn't.
I do think it'd be really interesting to go back in history, and I don't have this information though, but I think culturally this has happened over and over and over and over, you know, again in history, because we tend to try to, like, we're tribal people, right? So we try to create a group that's similar to us, and I'm not saying we all do it, but I think it's an inherent human trait. So like maybe the Italians did that, or maybe the Germans did that, or maybe, you know, like it's like what's familiar feels more comfortable because it's not as, it just doesn't trigger as many like instincts in our brain. It's so super physiological.
I mean, it's like how there's Chinatown and like
exactly
Koreatown, and
yeah, because there's something to the culture that feels familiar, and so it feels a little safer.
yeah.
And there's, I think, instances in which it's okay. I mean, and then there's, as long as there's no ill will towards from one group to the other.
Right.
It'd be better if everyone was just like, oh, we're all the same, we're all little ants, just like I was saying earlier. But
We can accept each other's nuances.
yeah,
I mean, I think we could go on and on and on, and I want to, but we should wrap this show up.
okay, let's do it.
It's been good.
Thanks for having me.
Paulina, thank you. If you want to see any of Paulina's work, where can we find you? All your Instagram and your website.
Paulina M. Johnson.
Pauline, do you want to spell it out for anyone?
Oh, I've been taking pictures about people. Spell my name. I have a little collection, but the real mine one is Paulina M. Johnson. Johnson. M stands for Monterrubio, by the way.
Oh, girl.
My name.
That's your drag name right there. Your
That's
drag
my
alter
last
ego.
name.
That's when you do your drag.
So now I have a roller derby name and a drag.
Yeah. Necessary. I mean, we're not being Cheugy over here. I also want to just say we are on Ute ancestral lands here in Steamboat Springs, Routt County, Yampa Valley, and also some Apache nomadic lands as well. Paulina, sweet baby D-Bird, Sarah, this has been wonderful, y'all.
This is our first like in person.
This is our first in person since we started this shindig.
This is really exciting.
And Tegan.
Making moves.
And Tegan. We can't
Tegan in the
forget
house.
Princess Tegan making a couple sleepy appearances.
Got caught up in the cords once.
Oh,
Little spider web going.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, no doubt karaoke moment.
That was
Well,
a good one.
Next month we'll see you, and maybe we'll have a name by then. A new name. A non
Mystery hour.
A non cease and desist name. Adios, y'all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you're feeling inspired to do more, visit youngbloodcollective.org to donate to our BIPOC grant fund. 100% of these donations goes to helping Black, Indigenous, and people of color in need in the Yampa Valley. We'll see you next time.